Hello everyone, and welcome back to Lady Show English. Today, we're going to explore an interesting topic that affects millions of people twice a year: daylight saving time. We'll learn about its history, why it's controversial, and pick up some useful English vocabulary and phrases along the way. Let's get started. Every year, most people in the United States experience something unusual. In March, they lose an hour of sleep, and in November, they gain it back. This practice is called daylight saving time, or DST for short. When we talk about this topic, we use two important phrasal verbs: spring forward and fall back. In spring, we spring forward by moving our clocks 1 hour ahead. In autumn, we fall back by setting them 1 hour behind. These phrases help us remember which direction to change our clocks. Let me explain the vocabulary here. The word controversial in our title means that people have very different opinions about something. When something is controversial, it causes disagreement and debate. Another useful word is observe, which means to follow or practice a tradition or rule. For example, Hawaii and Arizona do not observe daylight saving time, meaning they don't follow this practice at all. Now, let's look at where this tradition comes from. Daylight saving time has its roots in World War I. The phrase "has its roots in" is a great expression that means originated from or began with. During the war, countries wanted to conserve fuel and power, so they introduced this time change. The verb conserve means to save or use less of something, and it's commonly used when we talk about energy, water, or natural resources. During World War II, the United States kept DST permanent for most of the war years. However, when the war ended in 1945, most Americans wanted to return to Standard Time. Later, during the energy crisis of the 1970s, the government tried permanent DST again. President Nixon signed the law in January 1974. And initially, it was popular. But soon, problems appeared. Schools had to delay their start times because children were going to school in the dark, which was dangerous. The expression "by the end of" is useful here. By the end of that winter, public support had decreased significantly. We can say that approval plummeted, which means it fell very quickly and dramatically. This verb gives us a strong image of something dropping rapidly, like a stone falling from a cliff. Let's analyze some important language patterns from this topic. When we discuss time changes, we often use the present perfect tense with for to show duration. For example, studies over the past 25 years have shown that time changes affect our health. This structure helps us connect the past to the present situation. Another common pattern is "there are studies that show," which is used frequently in academic and news writing. This phrase introduces research findings and evidence. We can use it in many contexts. There are studies that show exercise improves memory, or there are studies that show music helps concentration. The phrase "it depends on" is extremely useful in everyday English. In our topic, we learned that whether DST is helpful depends on who you are and what you want. This expression shows that the answer changes based on different factors or circumstances. You might say, "whether I go hiking depends on the weather," or "my decision depends on the cost." The daylight saving time debate shows us how one change can affect different people in opposite ways. This is where we see many counterarguments. A counterargument is an argument that opposes or contradicts another argument. In this case, for every benefit of DST, there's also a disadvantage. For instance, research indicates that car accidents increase when people lose sleep during the springtime change. The word indicate is more formal than show and is often used in academic contexts. On the other hand, some studies suggest that crime rates decrease when there's more evening daylight. Here we see the useful phrase "on the other hand," which introduces a contrasting point. Different industries have different preferences too. The recreational sports industry lobbied for DST because they wanted customers to have more daylight after work. The verb lobby means to try to influence politicians or decision makers to support your cause. However, the movie industry opposed it because people are less likely to watch movies when it's still bright outside. Modern research has revealed important health concerns about DST. Scientists have discovered that the time change disrupts our body rhythms. The verb disrupt means to interrupt or disturb the normal flow of something. Our bodies are naturally tuned to Earth's rotation, so when we suddenly change the time, it can cause problems. Studies have found that heart attacks increase at the start of DST, which is quite alarming. The phrase "at the start of" indicates the beginning of a period or event. We can use similar expressions like "at the end of," "in the middle of," or "during the course of" to describe when things happen. Interestingly, there's also a mental health aspect. Some research suggests that people feel happier with more evening sunlight. This shows us that the issue isn't simply black and white. There are benefits and drawbacks to consider. Let's review some useful vocabulary chunks that appeared in today's lesson. These are groups of words that native speakers commonly use together. First, we have time-related expressions: twice a year, all year round, and at the time. These phrases help us talk about frequency and timing. For example, "I visit my doctor twice a year," or "this store is open all year round." Next, we learned economic and policy phrases: energy crisis, lobby groups, and law repeal. These are important for discussing politics and business. A crisis is a serious, difficult situation. Lobby groups are organizations that try to influence government decisions. And repeal means to officially cancel or remove a law. We also encountered cause and effect language. The idea was to, the reason for, and this led to. These expressions help us explain why things happen. For instance, the idea was to reduce pollution, or this decision led to many complaints. Since we're discussing time changes, let's extend our learning to other useful time-related vocabulary. In English, we have many expressions about daylight and darkness. We say "at dawn" for early morning, "at dusk" for early evening, and "around the clock" to mean 24 hours continuously. We also use many idioms related to time. Time flies means time passes quickly. In the nick of time means just before it's too late. Better late than never suggests that doing something late is better than not doing it at all. These expressions make your English sound more natural and fluent. When discussing schedules and routines, we often use phrases like start time, end time, standard time, and rush hour. These are essential for talking about work, school, and daily activities in English-speaking countries. It's worth noting that daylight saving time isn't practiced everywhere. Many places near the equator don't use it because their daylight hours don't change much throughout the year. The phrase "it's worth noting" is a polite way to introduce additional important information. In the United States, not all states follow DST. Hawaii and most of Arizona maintain the same time all year. The verb maintain means to keep something at the same level or continue something without changing. This decision shows that states can choose what works best for their citizens. Understanding these cultural differences helps us appreciate how time and daily routines vary around the world. When traveling or working with international colleagues, being aware of time zone differences and DST changes becomes very practical and important. So there you have it. We've explored the controversial topic of daylight saving time while learning valuable English vocabulary, phrases, and grammar structures. We've seen how one simple time change can affect health, safety, economics, and daily life in so many different ways. Remember, learning English through real-world topics like this helps you understand not just the language, but also the culture and current issues in English-speaking countries. Here at Ladies Show English, we focus on bringing you news and topics about health, food, travel, business, technology, and the environment to make your English learning relevant and connected to real life. If you enjoyed this lesson, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future videos. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Keep practicing, and keep improving your English. Goodbye.